Sup, Besticle? I'm Leon the Paperback Maniac, coming at you with another vintage horror book review. Today, we are taking a look at The Bad Room by Christopher Cook Gilmore. This book was published by Avon in May of 1983, exactly 37 years ago. This book is as old as I am. It has some amazing cover art there. Absolutely striking. Love the lavender color scheme and the cool foil lettering of the title there. It's probably one of my favorite covers that Avon ever did. So yeah, I will go ahead now and read the synopsis from the back cover. The state asylum for the murderously insane. He was warned not to go there, but his little boy disappeared in the woods nearby. He had to find him. Now he is looking from the window of a padded cell as shrieking lunatics lower a child's coffin into the ground. The coffin is jerking, the body still alive. He is screaming for his son, screaming for them to stop, but his cries are unheard, except by the woman in the attic who always wanted a little boy, and the doctor who very soon will begin the final treatment in the bad room. Yo, Richard Lehman fans, listen up. Owen Vanderbees is driving through the heat-soaked New Jersey Pine Barrens in late summer to take his 8-year-old son, Robin, back to his ex-wife's house, who has full custody of him. And, the boy is a little upset about, going back home. He even at one point, asks his dad, why did you leave us? And it's actually a little heartbreaking. Now, Owen and his kid, they're running a little late getting back to, the ex-wife's house because the puppy that Owen recently got his little boy had run off and they had to, chase it. So they lost some time. So they stop at a roadside bar so that Owen can use the telephone and call his ex-wife, let her know they're running a little late. And little Robin, says that he'll just sleep in the camper while his dad runs inside and, cuddle up with his puppy. Big mistake, okay? So inside the bar, Owen goes inside this small little, remote roadside bar. It's super dark and gloomy. And Owen's call to his ex-wife doesn't go through because of a downed power line. And the operator on the phone says that he'll call the bar back once, a connection can be reestablished. So Owen thinks, all right, what the hell, I'll grab a beer, while I'm waiting. And he orders a bud from the bartender, this lady behind the bar, this quirky lady, aptly nicknamed Dusty. And as he's, drinking his beer, the bartender asks him if he has any relatives at the local insane asylum up the road. Now, Owen, not being a local, being from the coast upstate, has never even heard of this bar. And, they start chatting a little bit. At a certain point, the bartender's weird, eccentric son, Rupert, comes in and starts, making small talk with Owen and irritating his mother with, some blasphemous proclamations that he makes. And the general vibe in the bar is, just kind of weird. It's a little, Twin Peaksy, almost. And finally, the phone rings, and the operator is able to establish the connection, and Owen, is able to talk to his ex-wife, and of course, she is irate, as he suspected she would be, that they're running late. She demands to know why, and Owen is forced to, admit to her that he got Robin, this little puppy, and the puppy had run off, and they had to chase it. And she's, furious about that. They get into a big argument about the dog before she hangs up on him. Before Owen is able to leave this gloomy bar, Dusty, the bartender lady, she mentions that she has a daughter named Ruthie, whom she committed to the asylum herself years ago for being naughty with her daddy. And this sets off her son Rupert, who is like in the bar in the back, like reading, who like gets furious about this when he hears her like malign his sister. He like slams his book down, calls his mom a liar, and like storms out of the bar. And Owen is like, okay, I'm gonna get out of here now. So he's leaving. He exits the bar right as the dark clouds, of course, split open and start hammering rain down. And he gets back inside the camper, and he apologizes to his son for taking so long in there. And at the moment that he realizes that his son is missing, he hears this ear-piercing scream coming from the far-off woods, followed by like a wailing sound. Now, of course, frantic, his child missing, he runs out, starts shouting his kid's name. The bartender, Dusty, comes out, asks him what's wrong, and he says, my kid is gone, I don't know what happened. And she says, well, maybe he just wandered off down the road and climbed the watchtower. There's like a fire watchtower down the road. So Owen, runs to the watchtower in this drenching rain. He climbs up the ladder. He starts knocking on this trap door that leads up to like the room up top. And a couple of Rangers are up there, and they're a little taken aback by him. This dude looks like wildly just like upset. And at first they think that maybe he's like a loony who escaped the local asylum, down the way in the woods. And Owen, explains, no, my son, he was waiting in the car while I ran into the bar to make a call, and he's gone. And the Rangers are like, ooh, they're like, we hope he didn't go into the woods, because the woods are not safe. They say, for instance, there's a bunch of diseased and feral cats loose out there after some crazy cat lady was killed by a local, and these cats will tear a person to shreds if they get a hold of them. And Owen is like, I am not trying to hear this shit right now, right? And then looking down from this fire watchtower, Owen notices some headlights in the woods, and he points them out to the two Rangers, and they say that it must be Alvin, the doctor who runs the nut house. And they tell Owen that he doesn't want to go there, that is a bad place, that only very, very bad people go to this insane asylum, that it's actually more like a prison than any sort of like health institution. And they tell Owen about like the bartender Dusty's old dog, who one day like wandered into the grounds of the asylum and like squeezed through the bars of the gate, and some of the patients in the insane asylum got a hold of it and like tore it to pieces and ate it alive. So he's like, yeah, this is not the kind of place you want to be. And then shortly thereafter, some state troopers arrive, and also the chief of police, and they start questioning Owen. And these are very unhelpful people, to say the least. In fact, Owen quickly starts to be treated more like a suspect than, like a father in desperate search of his son. And the chief of police is a real prick, and he actually, he even says like, well, you know what, you're sounding a little nuts yourself. Maybe we ought to lock you up. And at this point, Owen just doesn't have time for this shit. Like he can't waste his time with these like yokels. So he punches the chief of the police chief and makes a dash out of there. He makes a run for it. All he can think about is just finding his kid. And he eventually comes across the puppy in the woods. And he assumes that maybe like Robin had let the puppy out of the camper, and the dog had run off like as it had before, and he just went following it. So, maybe this is a good sign. Maybe the kid is close. So he follows the puppy through the woods, hoping maybe it'll lead him back to his son. And the puppy ends up leading him into like this old abandoned auto yard, and then like he takes a trail which eventually like plunges him into this murky bog, and he's stuck in this bog. He finally drags himself out of there. He's immediately attacked by a swarm of mosquitoes, and he is just like calling his son's name in despair and utter desolation. Everything feels awful. He feels like he's trapped in the pines, like a bug in amber. And I did note a little quote here I'll read that kind of characterizes this father's sort of desperation in this moment really well. It says, "Everything was against him. The people, the pines, the animals, and the insects were in league. He was being punished for his sins, his selfishness, and his stupidity. God and nature were mocking him, jeering at his impotence, listening with indifference. It was as if he were some laboratory animal, the center of a cruel experiment, the object of some inhuman research. And it was just the beginning." You can say that again. Shortly after that, he comes across the weird bartender's son, Rupert, who is amused to hear that he punched the chief of police and ran away. And he asks if he can tag along with Owen, who tells him that he's going to follow the police chief's car, which looks like it is headed toward the insane asylum. So they head through the woods to this insane asylum, deep in the woods. And they are chatting about their pasts, and we get some solid characterization here, entirely conveyed through dialogue, which happens a lot in this book. And finally, they get to the grounds of the asylum, which is this large Gothic building just overhanging with ivy and with barred windows. Looks very ominous indeed. There's a candle guttering in the gabled attic window up on the top of the edifice, and Rupert says that must be my sister Ruthie, because she always lights a candle at night, and he tells Owen, yeah, she's the only woman in the asylum actually. And as Owen and Rupert climb the wall to enter the spooky grounds of the asylum, they see two figures walking below, out front. They see an older man in a white coat with silver hair and oddly mangled hands. And when you find out later why this guy's hands are mangled, it's just super creepy and scary. They also see a young woman with red hair, wearing a diaphanous white gown underneath which she's naked. And she's carrying a small bundle in her arms, and they're standing in a makeshift cemetery, surrounded by crosses and these rectangular plots of ground. And dead flowers and stuff. And the thing in the woman's arms, this bundle, suddenly comes alive, and Owen sees it's his puppy, and it kind of jumps out of her arms and kind of runs off. And this woman with the red hair, Rupert says, is his sister, Ruthie, who was committed to the asylum. And then he says the man beside her in the white coat is Dr. Alvin, the director of the asylum, and he is a hideous-looking guy. He's gaunt and pale and cadaverous like a corpse. And Rupert pleads with Owen to just end it here, to not go into the asylum. He says, nothing good can come of this. But Owen has no choice. He has to see if maybe his son is in there. Was he abducted? Was he taken? He's kind of resolved to get his son back. Rupert says, yes, but if those who go in there never come out. But Owen is a man on a mission. He says, no, I'm going to sneak in there and try to get my son. And oh boy, once inside, Owen has to contend with a number of things, such as vicious Dobermans, convict guards, guards who are perverts, rapists, and child molesters, and also brain dead. It's literally the lunatics running the asylum here. Criminally insane maniacs filled with idiotic bloodlust. one twisted and unhinged doctor, and of course, the titular bad room down in the basement of the asylum, the place that you only go if you've been bad, deemed by Dr. Alvin. And no, it's not solitary confinement. Hell no. Solitary confinement is like a trip to Disneyland compared to the bad room. Yes, so Owen's in for a hell of a night, suffice it to say. Okay, so Richard Lehman, I mentioned him earlier. It was once said, I forget by who, that Richard Lehman was described as Stephen King without a conscience. And I actually don't really buy that. I don't think that that's particularly apt. However, I will say that, reading this book, it almost felt like reading Richard Lehman with a conscience. Like Lehman, we have here a riveting and exciting plot filled with quirky and interesting characters. There's not a lot of explicit violence or gore in this book. This is a novel of psychological terror. Right? This thing, deals with topics like madness, incest, rape, abuse, both mental and physical, torture in the name of, therapy, quote unquote. We get sick and twisted mind games, gaslighting, induced brain damage, right? It's just like a lot of stuff. We get like a mental asylum for the criminally insane, where only the worst cases go. This is the place where all of the patients are convicted killers and also paranoid, and they are worried constantly that they're being watched and that, they're terrified of being deemed sane, quote unquote, and being sent back to prison. So frequently they will act out in violent and erratic ways to kind of prove that they're crazy and that they belong there and not in prison. Hence, and they will often kill, people for that reason, which is why we have the makeshift graveyard out front, which often gets, little like makeshift funerals happening there. The tension in this book I thought was fantastic. It's a very taut book. Some of the trauma that this father, Owen, experiences in his attempt to find his son is just nerve shredding, especially once he gets trapped in the asylum. And the stakes are super high because it's not only about Owen finding his 8-year-old kid and saving him. It's also will he keep his very own sanity, right? And the whole idea of this sadistic doctor running a mental asylum for the criminally insane out in the woods and trying to drive this poor man crazy or make him think he's going crazy in order to perhaps steal his child is utterly terrifying. I thought it was also written really well. It was written in an engaging and inviting prose style, very, very vivid and crisp. Gilmore here does a great job of describing this creepy gothic nightmare of an asylum. Thought that was really good. There's some great use of dialogue in this book. Gilmore seems equally adept at writing action and dialogue, which, is kind of rare sometimes for a writer. For instance, I loved the repartee between Owen and his son, Robin, in the beginning of the book. I thought it was really, quite funny, and it kind of established the bond that this father and son have, which was very necessary for the book. The use of characterization through dialogue throughout the book, I thought was really good. There is a lot of it, however, and there were a couple of instances where it almost seemed a little info dumpy, where we just get these extended sort of dialogue scenes. However, it is important for the narrative to get these, characters' backstories and to really flesh them out, because this is, very much a character piece in addition to like a psychological horror novel. So it was appreciated. There are some scenes, especially like toward the end of the book, that are conveyed entirely through dialogue between characters, and I thought that that's kind of a dicey thing. Like, it doesn't always work out, but I thought in this case it was masterfully done and really added to the tension. And yeah, the pacing of this thing is good as well, despite, as I mentioned, a couple of expository heavy dialogue scenes, such as a section in the middle when Owen first sneaks up into the attic of the asylum and meets Ruthie, the woman who was committed there by her mother, and who's the sole female patient in the asylum. And we get this very long sort of backstory of her and how she ended up there and why she continues to stay there. And it kind of slowed down the momentum of the plot a little bit. But having said that, it was also important because we did get the sort of necessary characterization of this character, and and she is a very, ultimately, this woman is very, I thought, well developed and pathetic character. Like when she just tells Owen about her crazy life story up there in her creepy candlelit attic room. I thought it was just chilling and also very, very sad, honestly. And, the last 50 pages of this book, I have to say, gave me some serious anxiety. Like, at certain points, I almost felt like I could have had like a low-key panic attack. It was very disturbing and unsettling, some of the things that happen in the bad room, especially to Owen. But obviously, very effective. So, yeah, really well done. So, overall, I thought this was a great book. I would highly recommend it. I would recommend it to people who like character-driven horror stories, and especially psychological horror stories. And like I said, if you like that kind of Richard Lehman style, quick pace, and just riveting and exciting horror, then definitely I say check it out, yo. So, yes, that is The Bad Room, guys, by Christopher Cook Gilmore. Hope you enjoyed the review. Thanks for watching, as always. Hope you're all doing well, staying safe. Make sure you check back soon. I mentioned Richard Lehman a couple of times here. Next week, hopefully, I will be doing my next Richard Lehman book review. And that is a matter to rejoice for, right? Because we all, I would hope, love Lehman, and I always enjoy reading and reviewing his books. So, yes, till next time, guys, take it easy. I will see you later. Peace out.